Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Good evening. Welcome to your Direct Connection. Coming up tonight, how something called mindful health can help you to keep your New Year's resolutions. But first tonight, we connect you with the president of the Baltimore City Council. Brandon Scott joins us now to talk about his crime plan. Sir, thank you for being with us. 348 homicides last year. Clearly, something needs to be done. What do you have in mind?
Yeah, I thank you, and thank you for having me, Jeff. Listen, it's unfortunate that Baltimore is continuing to struggle with this disease known as gun violence, but it's time that we put forth a plan like we have done no other before. We have released my plan, Building Public Safety in Baltimore, an all-hands-on-deck plan for reducing crime in Baltimore City, because we have to do things in a different way. We have to treat violence for the public health issue as it is, while dealing with the immediate effects of violence in Baltimore through the lens of policing. And we know that we can do these things, and we can do both at the same time to finally, once and for all, cure gun violence in Baltimore City.
What, from your perspective, having been on the City Council, chairing, I think, the Public Safety Committee before you were president of the council, what has gone wrong the past few years? Why were the trends so bad last year?
Well, I think that, listen, this is a reflection of leadership. And when you're talking about setting a vision for crime in Baltimore City and having agencies and city workers work towards reducing crime in Baltimore City, you laid it at the feet of the mayor. The mayor is the only person in City Hall that can direct or order the police department to do anything, that can direct or order all the other agencies to do anything. And remember, if you remember, Jeff, that when I was chair of the Public Safety Committee, when the previous mayor, Mayor Pugh, took office, her and I had 2 years of fighting about her not having a crime plan. I infamously ended a council hearing and told all of her staff members to basically get out of the council chambers and come back to talk to me when they had an actual plan, which we never got. When you go for years without having an actual plan on how you're going to focus on your number one issue, and that's saving lives in Baltimore, you get what we have on the streets of Baltimore right now, to the point where we were so frustrated with that administration that we offered up a crime plan in 2017 called Live to Be More that they refused to implement. And then again, over the summer, we were finally relieved to have a plan from the police department, but the current mayor said that he was going to have a follow-up supplement public health-based comprehensive approach from the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice that we didn't get. So that's why we're doing it ourselves, putting that out there. That's why I have a piece of legislation pending that will require the Mayor's Office to have crime, because we have to have our police department focused each and every day on removing the small groups of violent repeat offenders from Baltimore City, streets and neighborhoods, getting them out of neighborhoods so people can live and thrive. We also have to have them focused on getting the flow of illegal guns and the people that traffic and straw purchase guns, many if not most of which are recovered from outside of the city of Baltimore and outside the state of Maryland, focusing on them each and every day while we simultaneously build better people and better neighborhoods through attacking the issue of trauma in public safety in Baltimore, building up, providing opportunities for our young people to work year-round, building up opportunities for people who are returning citizens in Baltimore City to be trained to work and have certifications through trade unions and others so that they can have careers and not return to a life of crime. We can do all of those things at once.
Let me focus on the guns for a minute. Efforts like stop and frisk, tried in other cities, have been controversial because of the civil liberties element of stopping somebody without really any probable cause. How do you go after guns?
Yes, it's very simple. So if you think about, for me, for example, a young man who grew up Park Heights here in Baltimore City doing zero tolerance and who was stopped many times and frisked many times and threatened to be put in the back of a police car many times, I know that lens, right? But also we have to remember, in the year 2003, Baltimore had 278 homicides, and the police department made over 100,000 arrests. In 2011, we had 197 homicides, and they only made 60,000 arrests. Because it's not how many stops you make, it's not how many people you arrest, it's who you arrest. You get the guns off the street by targeting the people that you know are using them. And we know in Baltimore who they are, but what we need is a person with a vision, a mayor with a vision that knows that that's the focus each and every day, so that the police commissioner, all of our police officers, all of our law enforcement partners know that these are the people that we're going to target. We're going to build cases not just on drug organizations, but people that are trafficking, bringing guns into our city as well. We do not need to turn back the clock to zero tolerance, because that didn't reduce crime in Baltimore City. When we had 300 murders in Baltimore, when we had zero tolerance, when we had our lowest numbers, we were targeting the violent repeat offenders, but we have to do that in addition to doing what they didn't do then, and that's building in the public health component, attacking the overdoses in Baltimore City, which cause more death in Baltimore than gun violence, believe it or not, building up the economics of these individuals, making sure that they have a better education system, while we are still laser focused on violent repeat offenders and guns in Baltimore.
When you arrest a violent repeat offender, how do you get a conviction? How do you keep somebody behind bars for a long time? We know that, first off, the homicide clearance rate is below a third in Baltimore. Witnesses fearful to talk to police. When the police do go to court, jurors may not believe them in the wake of various corruption scandals. And reputedly, judges are said to be lenient, and the parole system lets people out after a fraction of their term is served. So what could you address of any of those impediments?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few things that have to be done there. And one, my entire life, I've heard no matter who the police commissioner or who the state's attorney is, arguing about who's responsible for some young man or some woman that committed acts of violence with a gun being back out on the streets. And early last year, in a meeting, I asked representatives from the state's attorney's office and representatives from the police department, can either one of them tell me why cases were actually null pros? How many of the gun cases that were null pros at that point were as a result of faulty police work, issues with the police officer, bad report writing, illegal stop and search, whatever? They couldn't tell me. Could any of them tell me how many of the cases were dropped because of some issue with the state's attorney's office? They couldn't tell me, because there was actually no one analyzing that data. So what did I do? I took the leadership role when I became council president, fought for those positions to be applied to. We got a position in the budget, and now that person is starting in the state's attorney's office, so that when there's issues with police consistently, her and the police commissioner can have that conversation and they can correct issues through training. Same thing for her attorneys. And then we can have the conversations with the folks in the judiciary about what we need from them as well. I also think that we need a particular gun court, right? We have to have a place where we can get these cases handled as quickly as possible for Baltimore City, but we also cannot neglect the fact that we have to rebuild trust in the Baltimore City Police Department in the community if we're going to truly tackle this issue.
Let's get a phone call in. This is Mark from Baltimore City. Mark, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Sure. How you doing, Brandon? Glad to see you on TV. I want to speak specifically about some of the systemic problems, because your crime plan, for the most part, is a reactive thing, just about a lot of things that you spoke about. In Baltimore, we have a lot of systemic problems that start with some of the mental health issues, but we're not addressing the residents that eventually become criminals. There's very little engagement when it comes with respect to Baltimore City engagement with its residents. Most of the young people in Baltimore don't see themselves having a future. There is little to no engagement in terms of
Mark,
introducing them.
Good question. Let me get the council president's response. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, thank you, Mark, and thank you for being a resident of Baltimore, and thank you for your question. We all know about the historic inequities in Baltimore. It's actually why I passed Baltimore's equity assessment program to force city government to start operating in an equitable way, beginning with this upcoming fiscal year, to undo some of those historic injustices that were done through policy, not investing in neighborhoods and people that look a certain way or a certain sex or make a certain amount of money. However, this is also, Mark, one of the things that been my hallmark, right? For example, everyone remember I used to lead the 300 Men March, where we were out talking to the very young men that people didn't want to talk to. I actually was out with Safe Streets and some other members of city government last Thursday in Brooklyn doing that. We have to have these young people have hope, and you give them hope by coming to them, talking to them, but also investing in them and their future. We have been investing in the failures of Baltimore's young people instead of investing in their promise. You do that through investing in education. You do that investing in programs that we know work, like Youth Opportunity, that helps those young men and young women get a second chance at life. Investing in programs like the Center for Urban Families, Turnaround Tuesday, all these great organizations that we have in Baltimore that uplift communities and uplift people who are normally forgotten. We have to do that.
Let's get another call in from Harford County. This is Carol. Carol, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, I understand Baltimore City does not have enough police officers. Can you tell me what's being done to hire more police officers for Baltimore City?
Carol, thanks for the phone call. And Mr. Scott, if I can put a finer point on it, do you agree or disagree with the idea that the police force is understaffed by several hundred officers?
Yeah, I think that the reality there is a mixture, right? For example, for years we've been hearing that they were X amount short, but when you look at the staffing study that they had to do as a part of the consent decree, it really talked about how they were allocating the officers, and I actually led this effort to go. Baltimore Police Department at the beginning of last year only had a 13% civilian rate. Most major city police departments are at 20%. There are at least 300 officers in Baltimore City Police Department that could be out on the street right now doing police work, and civilians will be doing the jobs that they're doing in most police departments. So yes, we are short, but we also have to reallocate officers that are in different ways, put them back out on the street, retrain and train up young people in Baltimore through our cadet program, continue the aggressive recruitment that they had, but also build a better working environment so that we can attract more people. We have to make the Baltimore Police Department as efficient and effective through technology, through the use of things, putting people in the jobs what they should be. Police officers, in any case where they have to be, should be doing police work.
Residents, sir, have heard over the years a lot of people, parade of mayors, police commissioners, everybody's had a plan. How could you assure people that your plan is real and would get results?
I lost you for a second there. I think your question was, how can we ensure that the plan is real and has results? Is that what you said?
Exactly.
Yeah, so first and foremost, many of the things that we're talking about in our plan have been tried and proved effective here in Baltimore and other places. For example, a focus on group violence reduction is how we got Baltimore's violence to its lowest point, but they didn't take it to the next step. Group violence reduction in cities like Detroit and other places where they really reduced it also includes providing those very people that you're targeting with an opportunity to turn their life around. When you look at how cities is doing with ceasefire and other programs, when you look at cities that are focused on how to deal with their vacant homes and vacant lots in a different way, cities that are attacking lead paint, cities that are investing in their education system more, cities that are providing job opportunities for young people, these are things that Baltimore has never done. You can look, and what we'll do is take the best practices around the city, make them fit to what Baltimore needs, and that's how you know where they will work, because Baltimore isn't different than any other city. We have just we've been so afraid to do things differently. We cannot continue to operate the same way. We have to change the way they operate so that we can have a new way forward for Baltimore.
City Council President Brandon Scott, sir, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. We're back with our health segment right after this.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
Are you turning 70 and a half this year? If so, you generally have to start spending down your retirement account. Even the minimum distribution can place you in a sticky situation. Luckily, you can now use your IRA to make tax-free gifts. Gifts up to $100,000 will never count as income, but always make a difference. That's icing on the cake.
Make your gift for this year before December 31st. Visit mpt.org/support.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Joining us for our Your Health segment tonight is Dr. Mark Saba of the University of Maryland's St. Joseph Medical Center. Doctor, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Slightly belated Happy New Year. A lot of people have made resolutions to lose weight or stop smoking and have trouble following through on that. Why is that?
That's a big question.
We're human beings. That's part of it.
I think in general, most people, when they make New Year's resolutions, they're looking to hit a home run. They want to hit the ball out of the park, which is admirable. But human nature is most of us cannot accomplish what we set out to start, and then it becomes an all or none phenomenon. And as we know, for most of us, it's a none. So. That's what we want to try to avoid when we set New Year's resolutions.
You're interested in something called mindful health. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
I think it just means in general just awareness of what we do day to day as it relates to our health and the impacts on our health. Developing that understanding is critical for making behavior change. And so understanding what drives us to eat, why don't we know we should exercise, but we don't exercise, right? And so the more we can understand our motivations, our triggers related to food or exercise or how we manage stress, these are all things at the end of the day that if we can't understand them or we can't come up with a plan to manage them, our chances of success, and certainly in this case New Year's resolutions, is pretty low.
So on a practical level, what do you do? How do you change that?
Two things. In terms of mindfulness, I usually ask patients to start identifying their triggers. Again, with food, for instance, I might say, do you eat because you're stressed? Do you eat because you're hungry? Do you eat because somebody put food on your plate? Do you eat because you bought the food? And you go on and on and on. And sometimes patients will say, well, I eat it, right. I eat it for all those reasons. And then we start the process of saying, well, if you're stressed, if you eat when you're stressed, what usually happens? Well, I eat that food, I know I shouldn't, and 20 seconds later I'm like, why did I eat that food? And then, then we talk to patients about mindfulness. So can you imagine not eating that food? Is it possible that you don't need to eat that food? And by just being in the moment and sort of following your mind, often you can catch that trap before it becomes an instantaneous reflex where it just kind of happens. And so for me, I love ice cream. So my joke is I could watch my mind go down a dark alley and get mugged by a pint of Ben & Jerry's, but if I'm aware, I can kind of watch my mind doing that, and I'm saying, I really don't need to do that. But there is a level of awareness that you can acquire, and that's the first step in behavior change is awareness.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question for the doctor, have some advice that you can share, what's worked for you on New Year's resolutions, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You can also email us live questions at mpt.org. So you give that speech to a patient.
Yeah.
A few months later, the patient comes back. Most of the time, what do they say? I mean, some of them, I'm sure, doctor, you're a genius, that was great. How often do you get that?
Say that, yeah. I ask patients initially to start looking at triggers, and then our next discussion is, how do we take that knowledge and translate it into actual behavior change? And scientists that study this phenomenon call it the intention behavior gap. And we all know this gap. It's, I know what to do, but I just can't do it. Or I'll do it in a month, or I'll do it in a week, or I'll do it, when something changes. And so that intention behavior gap is where most people fall short.
Intention behavior gap.
Yeah, they know what they do, but they don't do it. And I found in my interactions in the office for years, patients would say, "Doc, I know I need to exercise more, I need to eat right, and I'll do it, I'll do it between X visit." And they'd come back and invariably they hadn't done that. And so what I realized is we had to come up with a better plan to start changing behavior. And that plan typically starts with making a small change. Making 100% change. What can you walk out of the office here today and commit to 100%? And for some patients, depending on their fitness level, that might be 1 push-up a day. For some, it might be walking 15 minutes twice a week. But committing to walk twice a week and walking twice a week is much more powerful than committing to 4 days a week and only walking twice a week, if that makes sense. And so that's how we get patients to build a sense of self-esteem. I'm doing what I've set out to do, and then it can grow there. Then in a couple weeks, they start feeling good, they start looking at other behaviors, and they're more willing to make additional changes because they've been successful.
So what I'm hearing is, I can't commit to, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I can commit to something small.
Yeah.
I'm going to not raid the refrigerator after 8 o'clock or whatever.
That's right.
And then you create like a positive feedback.
You pick momentum. You create momentum. That's absolutely right.
Let's take a phone call. This is Lisa in Allegheny County, who is in one of these buttons. Lisa, there you are. Thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you. Resolutions, I just really want to make a comment. I like the concept of resolutions. They don't have to be at the new year. Resolutions are like taking a walk. You have to get up, you got to get dressed, you got to get prepped, and the first 300 feet hurt. But after that, it becomes a habit. So I think, your listeners can just kind of take it from there.
Lisa, thank you very much for the phone call. Excellent point that if you didn't make a New Year's resolution, you haven't missed the boat.
No,
you can,
not at all. You can start this any day.
Never too late to take the first step.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
All right, so you're an internist. Mm-hmm. Average patients, average adult individuals walking around, what are the things that they ought to be working on? Weight is obviously one of them. Cigarettes?
Sure, not smoking, weight, exercise, and eating healthier. And that's a whole topic in and of itself. But I find most patients don't eat enough fruits, vegetables, whole grains. There's obviously the attraction of a diet with the promise of dramatic weight loss, but those things also usually do not pan out. So.
Back to the phones, Baltimore County. This is Susan. Susan,
hello.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm wondering what you think about hypnosis for controlling what you eat.
Terrific question. Thank you.
Yeah, Susan, that's a great question. I'm not familiar. I've certainly heard of hypnosis, but I'm not intimately familiar with it, and so I can't tell you. I'm not familiar how effective it is, and I haven't seen it performed enough to give you advice on that.
What do you think about the step counters, the phone apps that are helping people keep track?
I think it's great because part of when you're making behavioral change, accountability is key. And Fitbits and entering your calories and knowing what you're eating, provides a great source of accountability. So I'm a fan. It's not just, you can't rely just on the Fitbit or just on the app. Again, I think if you can combine that objective metric with, again, mindfulness, you can be successful. But mindfulness is different for everybody, and that's one app doesn't work for every single person because, again, our triggers are all, we have some similar triggers, and yet we're all different as well. And so that's where you have to add that extra little, everybody's own uniqueness to the formula.
You know, when I hear the word mindfulness, I'm all of a sudden thinking about Tai Chi, meditation.
Yeah.
That's sort of it, or not really?
Yeah, I know mindfulness, whether you apply it to nutrition, exercise, stress management, it's all the same. It's all the same. And here we're talking about health, but mindfulness is just, there's no limit to it, right? It's in every interaction we have, if we're more mindful, we're more in tune with ourselves, and it's the same concept.
Just a few seconds, but sure. If taking the first step is the hardest thing, how should people approach that?
The first step? Or?
Yeah, how you just get going?
Yeah.
In a sentence.
In terms of mindfulness or behavior change?
Both.
Both. Start small, and be consistent, I think, is my best advice.
Great advice from Dr. Mark Saba, University of Maryland, St. Joseph Medical Center. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection. We're back Thursday with Your Money in Business. Have a good night.
Your health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.